Hi, my name is Tommy Bear, and I'm doing my social studies project on my Nan Elizabeth Coleman Bear. Newfoundland Railway was shut down in 1984. Have you ever had to use it for transportation? If so, what were the experiences like?
No, I've never travelled on the train in Newfoundland. I had no experience whatsoever.
If you owned a television in the 50s, were you astonished by the technology at the time?
Yes, I certainly was. We were the first people on our street to have a TV, and we had it in our home for about 3 months, but it wasn't connected. We just plug it in, and we had this test pattern came up with the big picture of the Indian and have your picture straight on the TV. And we had our friends come in, and they'd sit for hours and just look at this test pattern. We thought it was a wonderful thing. You got to make the most of your...
Yeah, make the most of your...
See, by rights, he should ask me questions and I'll answer him to make up. When he puts, is he going to put this on paper?
No.
What? Go.
Did the rise in the fish levels and the massive hauls that people would catch every day amaze you?
Only from what I heard from my family, my parents and my older brothers. But all I remember about fish, really, that what it had to do with me, my brothers would go down on Friday and sometimes on Wednesday, and they'd go downstairs, cover one of the coves on Water Street, and the men would be there in from out the outports and selling their fish. And you'd get a fish probably about 3 feet long or bigger for 25 cents. Sometimes they'd bring up 2.
What are your opinions on the Americans using Stephenville for their Air Force base?
Well, the Americans, yes, they did a lot for Newfoundland because they brought business in and made the other businesses in town grow bigger, and people prospered, and everything was just a lot brighter. And the people out around Stephenville, they had a much more profitable life. Yeah, life was much better out that way then because they had the base, and look at all the jobs they had. Look at all the jobs they lost, right?
How did Queen Elizabeth visiting Gander in 1954 make you feel?
It was very exciting for us to have the Queen visit Gander for royalty to come to Newfoundland. But of course we couldn't get out there, but we had lots of celebrations in town and different things to go along with it, and on the newscast, and everybody would stop and watch it.
Did the Korean War have any effect on your way of living, such as food rationings, lowering local economy?
Not that I remember, because I wasn't, the head of the household or anything at the time. But I had a cousin went in the Korean War. My father was in the First War. I had 2 brothers in the Second War, and I had another brother went to Cyprus for peacekeeping in the 50s, 57. He came home.
When Michael Woodruff completed the first organ transplant, what was your reaction?
Well, I can't remember much of that one. The only thing, like I said, I could remember probably was Bernard, Dr. Bernard with the heart transplant. And I can't remember exactly what that was.
Did you own a car? If not, what would you use for transportation?
I didn't own a car actually, but I had the use of a car, and it was brought over to the police station for me to go over and get my license when I was 16. And I went in with my ponytail bouncing into the police station, and the officer said to me, "Yes, my ducky, what can I do for you?" And I said, "Well, I'm here to get my driver's license." And he said, "Oh, you go home now." He said, "No, come back in another couple of years." I said, "Okay." So I bounced out of there with my ponytail, and I got in the car, and I drove it home, and I drove for 2 years after. And then one night I was babysitting way down the east end of town, and coming across Elizabeth Avenue at 2 o'clock in the morning, was quite late. A motorcycle policeman stopped me, and he said, "What are you doing out this hour in the morning?" And I said, "Well, I was just babysitting, I'm just coming from there." And he said, "Oh, I didn't know you had your license." I said, "Well, I don't." And he said, "You get home right away." So I went home, but I did drive for 2 years with no license. But you wouldn't get away with it today.
What would you and your friends do for fun and a pastime?
Well, we didn't have many games as such, but we played games. We played hopscotch and marbles and stuff like that. And on Sunday, every Sunday, we'd all, 4 or 5 of us would get together, and we'd get 5 cents each, and we could go up on another street way up the road, and we could rent a bike for an hour. So it would cost us 5 cents each. And everybody we just stood right by our doorstep going round and round the block. And then one guy would get a turn, then he'd come back, the next guy would get a turn, and we were beat out in that hour riding that bike for 20 cents. But it was worth it.
What would people your age in that generation dress like?
Well, it was pretty uniform. We all had to wear our uniforms to school. We all had a certain dress code, boys and girls, and every school did. And on Sundays, we'd have to wear proper clothes to mass and church, and you didn't wear these clothes running around all week. You just wore them on Sundays, and that's pretty well the way it went. And there was no jeans when I was growing up. There's no such thing as jeans.
Thanks a lot, Nan, for the information. It was great talking to you.
Oh, it was quite lovely talking to you, and I could tell you an awful lot more, but we would need several days.